Fuel your body with complete multivitamin, the perfect balance of essential nutrients for daily health and wellness. Carefully formulated from natural ingredients, our multivitamin packs vitamins A, C, D, E, plus key minerals like zinc and magnesium to support your immune system and boost energy. Just 1 tablet a day is all you need. Take it with water and feel the difference as prescribed by your healthcare provider. Stay active, stay strong, stay ready with Complete Multivitamin, your daily dose of vitality. Complete Multivitamin, simple, powerful nutrition. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition store.
Karibuni sana family. Hope you guys are doing amazing. Hope you had a beautiful weekend and hope you're ready for this amazing week. To have a live with me on Rumble, BitChute, on YouTube, on the radio, Spreaker, Spotify. Karibuni sana. It is exactly 25 minutes past 2 p.m. right here in the 254. A very chilly weather today. I don't know what is the predictable weather or predicted to be weather on your end, but I hope it's gonna be a nice and fair one, and hoping you also have a beautiful week ahead as you catch up with us right here on the media of the 21st century. My name is Joby. In case you're here for the first time, I'd love to urge you to subscribe, follow us on whatever stream you are streaming live from, and of course ensure you download our application where you can get these amazing supplements I'm sharing right here with you, where you can find them on the BHFN Sports page. Black Hot Fire Network is the name on the Google Play Store. If you are an Android device user, if you are an iPhone, Apple user, www.blackhotfirenetwork.com is our very active website link. Karibuni sana once again. And of course, we're joined by the one and only Mr. Black Hot Fire right here. But before we get started with today's conversations, we shall be talking about Africa remaining still the greatest. Actually, not still. Africa remaining the greatest with its untappable Asian civilization. And the reason why I put this as a topic is because when I talk about untappable Asian civilization is things that today even the white men themselves have been unable to figure out how to come up with them. They might have stolen a lot of our cultures, traditionals, our history. A lot of it might have been scrapped, but it's all coming back to us. And it's also super crazy to see how they have not been able to tap into so much of it. When you talk about the great ancient Egypt, the pyramids, this is something most of them, like the recent one we saw that they discovered, they can't come up with this particular archaeologists. And then we also have, of course, today we'll be talking literally majority about the mathematical objects, actually reading and writing objects that most of the Africans don't even have an idea to. Also for me, I was learning when I was doing this research and trying to figure out, of course, how our people came up with this idea of using bones, different objects, using them to write and read. So that is basically what we shall be talking about. But along that, we want to talk about what is happening in Tanzania, which has secured a lot of funds to, of course, boost themselves with the so-called climate change. Samia Suluhu has completely sold the country. We want to talk about China dropping tariffs on 53 countries. We also want to talk about, of course, what is also happening in a country like Kenya, of course, seeking justice for still the one and only Ojwang. We're looking forward to see, of course, how this is happening. And you talk about justice. There's something I read today, and I don't know if it makes sense. It was talking about how colonialism was illegal, slavery was illegal, stealing of cultures, traditions, everything that these white people did was all illegal. But what is legal is it was called legality is a matter of power, not justice. That
exactly, it's power. It wasn't illegal because they had the power and they made all these wicked systems legal. Those systems were legal under their form of law because they had power. That's why I told you the number one thing everybody should acquire in Africa, you better learn this, it's power. That's what Iran is showing you. You better get power. Then you can apply justice. You can't apply justice without power, Joby.
Exactly. It took me actually, I read like that quote like 10 times to understand it. I'm like, legality, how do you mean legality is a matter of power, not justice? And now like,
yeah, it's a matter of power because you can't enact anything legally unless you got power. So you can force your illegality and call it legal because what? You got power. So So you can't inform justice on anybody until you got power. They raped, they killed, they murdered, but they haven't been brought to justice because you don't have any power.
It's crazy. I can't wait for us to talk about Israel tonight because it's crazy how Netanyahu is acting like, Netanyahu is acting so innocent out there. Our babies are
Of
being
course,
killed.
when the
That
truth,
is crazy.
when the truth hits propaganda, and it finally rings hollow because these people own all the media. And
Yeah.
they've been lying all in American media. Like, look at this, all these lies. They were the aggressor. They were the attackers. And they thought Iran didn't have the systems that they built up. Iran was quiet, said, hey, what are you doing? So the funny part about Israel created a whole spy network. Of course, they got all in Africa too. A whole spy network in India. So
Mhm.
in Iran. They had a whole spy network in Iran. So they got to kill before they decided to attack everybody. They killed the whole political system, the top leaders. They went and murdered them all,
Yep.
assassinated them all,
Yep.
found out where they lived, killed their families. So they had a whole spy network in there for years, because they wanted to, because when you chop off a leadership, they were afraid that they couldn't fight back. But luckily enough, Iran must know they had spies in there, and they were going to eventually get some of them that they could still function without the top leadership. That's why you must educate people underneath you to do your job. So,
Mhm.
surprise to them, Iran started effing their butt up with them missiles. Boom, 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 boom. And Trump lying ass, your credibility. America's a psychopathic country with white supremacists. See, the white supremacists, you white people, your time is coming to an end. I tried to teach this is happening. It's going to happen. This is it. So he tried to lie to Iran. Oh, we're going to set a deal, knowing that Iran and them are planning to attack them Friday when they
Mhm.
attacked them, right? So he was lying. So now they didn't expect Iran to have this kind of technical power. Like power, Iran kept quiet and used power. See now the white people asking for justice, like Joby said. Then yeah, oh they're killing the babies. Oh, they didn't care about the babies they killed in Iran when
But
they
yeah, I love the
yeah.
fact people. I was reading the comments because for me to again try and understand the reasoning of majority of the people, I love going through the comments,
Yeah, of
and
course.
then I read the comments and I love the fact that people understanding what is happening. They are going back to the video you made me share on Friday, where they did, of course, announce years back during George's time. Was it George? The president when they announced how Iran had uh weapons, like immense weapons and all that. The same video you made me share literally during the weekend.
Yeah,
And
that was Iraq. Yeah, that was Iraq.
people are referring back to that and they're like, you've been
Of
lying
course.
for years. The same themes and conspiracy theories you've been using this. You expect them to be working
Mhm.
right now in the 21st century. So I love the fact that actually people's thoughts and information, they are way ahead
They've
of
been
the
they've been blowing up babies' heads in Palestine, killing kids, burning them up, burning them alive, Joby, and
Netanyahu.
laughing and making
Netanyahu
videos about it.
Netanyahu said Iran is gonna pay heavily for what they
Not,
did.
they will
Heavily.
not. Yeah, they will not. See, they're trying to get America to go to war. America's all messed up. People fat, sloppy, lazy. So America don't want to get into war because they know that Israel controls America through the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. But Americans don't want to go to no war. So your propaganda doesn't work. Like Joey said, the propaganda. Oh, look what they did. Look at the look. I seen all on TikTok. Oh, there was Americans that got killed in this building that Iran hit. Those were Jewish Americans with dual citizenship. They're here in America, but they got an Israeli. They weren't regular Americans because Israelis allowed to have two citizenships, America and Israel. So those are Israelis. Don't try to say, oh, these Americans. And look at America. We need to come together and fight. No, we're not fighting shit. You started the war. Now you're getting your ass whipped. And I said they were going to get their ass whipped because I knew what they were developing. All the media in America is lying. Oh, Iran's need to stop and see what they're doing, or they're going to be destroyed.
Mm.
Now, 3 days later, who looked like they being destroyed? Iran or Israel? So Israel had a complete media blackout Sunday and Saturday. So it means they're getting messed up Are they killing innocent people? See, you've been murdering Palestinians. See, like Joby just said, Joby's quote is so apropos right now. I never heard that quote. That quote is correct about justice. You've been murdering people in Palestine for 2 years, burning up babies, shooting them in the head, shooting civilians that were trying to help people. You were murdering them all, and nobody said a damn thing because of your fake. Shout out to Iran. They told because of your fake money system, your fake ass money system that permeates the world. Iran said, "Fuck your money. We're going to talk about just fuck your fake money." And you're not putting one of your fake banks in Iran ever. You're not putting one of your fake Rothschild banks in Iran ever. Ever. Understand this what this is about too. Putting a fake bank in these countries so they can have control of people's monetary systems so everybody gets poor and these certain people always be rich. So Iran said, we're also not taking your fake ass money. So this ain't about your fake money. You can't bribe us with your fake ass money. We're not gonna deal. We're not gonna take it, and we're not gonna be bullied, and we're not gonna let you just murder us and take over our country like you've been doing forever. So that's why they must fall. Of all the propaganda, like there's weapons, all that fake shit. Iran quietly developed all their weapons. Just quietly, be quiet, and just develop weapons. That's all you do. You educate your children. Children learn all of it. Africa, learn this. Learn it. You know, your goofy religions. You know they Islam. They're not teaching that Islam shit when they fucking building weapons. They learn how to build sophisticated weaponry. So it was a surprise. This is how shocking the world is, family. This is how shocking the West is right now. They didn't know Iran had this kind of capability. And so when Iran unleashed this shit, see, this also destroys the whole white. See, they got a white pyramid scheme, a white on top and black on the bottom. This is all being destroyed. And see, remember, all their wealth is stolen. The West has never built shit. The fake money system, they don't got any resources. So if you finally decide to stand up like Iran did and say enough is enough, you're not going to propagandize. We're not going to be scared. And so when Iran attacked, it's like Joey said, they're not playing the victim. They attacked Iran. Iran didn't attack them.
Exactly.
And so now Iran, they didn't know Iran was built like that. Iran was quiet. Saying, no, we don't. Iran was like, no, we don't want to go to war. Don't, don't start nothing. Don't start nothing. Won't be nothing. So they wanted to go and blow up Iran, boom, 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 because they're trying to build a bigger Israel. The Rothschilds want all that area. They want to take it all over. So when Iran hit back, they're like, oh, what? Iran's got these kind of weapons? They told you. Don't fuck around and find out. So now you see America, oh, we gotta have peace. They weren't talking that peace shit last week. Oh, now they're talking about peace. Oh, we must have, see, like Joby said, power. Besides whether you have justice. If Iran was weak, there wouldn't be no justice. We don't be talking no peace. They'd be bombing the hell out their ass and overthrowing the government and going in and destroying the country like they did Libya, right? Libya, Gaddafi was stupid. He should have kept developing weapons. He said, well, you develop weapons, Gaddafi gonna come. They're gonna come anyway. You don't stop developing your goddamn military hardware with these psychopaths. You just be quiet about it. But you build that shit. You get your babies. You make sure they're highly, like Joe was about to do about you, make sure they highly understand math and science, and you get to build it. And you build that shit. Go ahead, Joe.
Exactly. But in a very family, we'll extend on that conversation, of course, tonight about Iran and what is happening with Israel, and of course the involvement of the UK, France, and US as well. Shout out on Sankenon. Hope you're doing amazing. Hope you had a beautiful weekend. Thank you so much for catching up this morning. Jibba Jabba, nice to see you. Jomo Squito, it's been a minute. Hope you're doing amazing as well.
Yeah, we ain't seen him in a while. You know, they say about Nigeria's girlfriend, he must have been getting beat up.
You know, seeing you the whole of last week. Hope you're doing amazing job, Mosquito. Karibu Sana. But as we start with the top conversations of today, I'm going to start, of course, with Tanzania. And, of course, the country being completely now sold out. We've been seeing, and when we were there, we did hear informations about abductions, about activists being, of course, abducted, others killed. There's a time I reported where actually even an opposition leader was killed by acid. This was a paid by
Wow.
political movement and all that. Now, Tanzania has secured $300 million from the World Bank to boost its disasters, and the disasters include the climate change and all that. So let me go
This
to
is all phony. So she sold her country out. You know, they with 300 million. That means they want to control the country. This lady is a puppet, but she's put in there. Tanzania, you're too uneducated. You better change the educational system. You're too stupid to know what you don't know. You're far behind intellectually behind Kenya. You're too far behind, so you're easily prey. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so they're saying, let me get the right article. I'm trying to get the right article right here. I see this one does say Dar es Salaam, an estimated of 1.9 million Tanzanians are expected to benefit from improved disaster preparedness and response capabilities following the approval of $300 million. This is about 790 billion shillings in Tanzanian currency if in financing the World Bank Group. And to extend on
Yeah,
that,
but this money doesn't even go to them. This always goes to NGOs controlled by them.
Mhm.
So the money never goes to the country. It's all fake. That's how you know you got
Exactly.
puppet because that money goes to the NGOs that they bring in there, Joby. It
Exactly.
never goes to the people.
Exactly. So I don't know what preparedness they're really talking about, because these are the kind of
Exactly.
things I think we need to go back to Magufuli and understanding why they assassinate this kind of leaders, literally. Because Magufuli said you ought to be drunk for you to be
Hmm.
taking loans from these particular organizations, which are a big
People.
setup,
Exactly.
right? Understand the World Bank, the IMF, which are the same. It's a setup to keep us in control while they take our
Yep.
mineral resources, which are worth the fake papers
Exactly.
that they're really giving us. So shout out to Samia Suluhu. Yes, she has finally sold out the country, but of course we saw this from the beginning when once she got into the political seat, and she invited white people to come and see the interest, the benefits they could gain
Exactly.
from
Come,
Tanzania. So
come take all our land and let the tribal people lose their land. Come take our land because that's why she's put this. She's a puppet. Come look at the land and get our land and all this old crazy stuff. She should have been on. And nobody never elected this lady.
exactly, it was of course, the white people, because they got rid of
Mhm.
the person truly purely selected by the people, and the love was
Exactly.
there. And that is the same thing, they go for the people when they say, especially the love, because they see the love. Magufuli was
Yep.
really, really loved.
Well,
Burkina, we have Ibrahim
it was luck.
Traore.
Yeah, it was luck is doing it with it, but unlike Ibram, I told him he got. See, Ibram Torre's been told he knows he's a military. That's why he got all that military shit on his hands and all that. When they come to kill you, they might just put some on. They might just press against Joby's chin or her neck. Be all kind of poison seep into your body, in your heart. Like, "Ugh." That's why he wears all that shit on his body, Joby. He only fist bump. You don't shake
Yep,
hands. You wear all that shit on you to protect yourself because these wicked people will come see you, Joe.
exactly. Oh, personally, I think I'm very conscious on that. I don't greet people on the hand like that. I do the Ibrahim Traore. We say gota in Swahili. I do that I don't like
I
greeting people.
know.
I don't know where you're even coming from. I have trust issues with energy, so I don't know where you're coming from. If you washed your hands after using the toilet or something, I don't know what's happening. So please don't touch me. Don't touch me. But we also there's something else that has also been, of course, expanding in Tanzania. The stealing of land, the Tanganyika land, which is for
Oh,
the original indigenous people of there. We've been seeing since Samia Suluhu came into power, that is something else that has been now a problem, where most of the people are being forced out of their indigenous lands, and the white people are claiming these places. They're also poaching. I remember there's a time I bumped into a video and an article on Twitter, and it was saying Samia Suluhu is the one giving actually access and the authority to poaching, because these people are actually poaching crocodiles, and taking them wherever they take them. So
yeah. Crocodile's clothes, Joe, but it's very expensive. Crocodile shoes
mhm,
and crocodile leather, very expensive. It's a lot of
so
money.
it's again, we're talking about our resources. I don't care, it's animals, but it's coming from Africa.
It is your
It's
resources.
let
crocodiles in
them go
Eureka?
they
There's no
should go find
crocodiles in Europe.
they should go find alligators and make use of them, somewhere, try catch an alligator or something. Leave the crocodiles alone. But on this other end, still on the matters of Africa, we have China, which dropped tariffs on 54 African countries. And of course, this sounds like a good deal. And also for me, or if African countries were clever enough, we should understand this is a very big trouble because the moment, because we've been talking about how we have AGOA, which is of course a partnership, I do think between the US and African countries, where African countries can, import resources, export resources
None of those,
without any.
none of those partnerships are good because
Mm-hmm.
like they want to take over your economy, Joe. They want
Exactly.
to put their
Exactly.
businesses because Africa hasn't set up an economy, Joe. You have no manufacturing. They want
Mm-hmm.
free access to your markets,
Exactly.
which leaves you impoverished.
Exactly, because this completely whatever China is doing, it means that Africa is now about to lay back and relax, especially when you have this kind of leaders who are not, shook. They don't even understand the terms that are being used by these people. We're dealing with illiterate people. We don't even understand if these people went to school or they were just picked from villages, like we've seen in majority of them. Picked from village, you seen you're a Negro country zone. You're
You got
told
that right. You got a lot
even
of
this.
morons as
And
leaders in Africa. That's a fact.
exactly. So this is a big problem. We should actually question this as Africans if we understood economics better. That is something else we're not really taught. We keep on talking about financial literacy, but we're not really taught the deep things. I was telling Shimani this sometime when we were in Tanzania, again,
Hmm.
talking about the embassies. And I'm like, do you really understand how deep these things are? Like what we really have on the ground and what we're given as education is totally, completely different things, because what you're dealing with in real life and what you have on the papers of so-called school is not what you have in reality.
No,
Economics,
but
what we're taught is
but that's
how
what,
agriculture promoting this, da da da. But if
but,
you
but
look at
that's
agriculture, it's dead. There's
but that's how even Torre said we got to this education system got to completely go because it's on purpose that you're not taught nothing in African school.
Mhm. It's crazy because if you talk about economics, Africans, the reason why actually we even lack, I feel like we're way behind in understanding so many things.
You
So
are.
our
You
economy is
haven't taught
actually
it.
is because we don't know, as the majority of the people, we don't understand how these things are supposed to be working. We're not given
Exactly.
real fact on purpose. But we have China, which has said it has already dropped the tariffs it charges on imports from all 53 African countries with which it has diplomatic relationships. And the move announced at China Africa Cooperation meeting, which these corporations will never see the development where it goes. Something we need to question. Comes as the continent is facing possibility of increased tariffs on its products entering the US. And China is Africa's largest trading partner, a position it has held for the last 15 years, with Africa exporting goods to the Asian nation worth around 170 billion in 2023. That is just in 2023. A joint ministerial statement criticized certain countries' efforts to disrupt the existing international
All right,
economic
Joby. That sounds
order.
like that sounds like a lot of money, but that's bull. Look
Mhm.
how much product does China ship to Africa?
Um,
How much how I bet it's more than 100 something billion. I bet you more than that. So the trade, they're allowed to do it now because they've already built up their manufacturing. So now they'll take down their tariffs because you can't hurt them now because they built their systems up in their country.
it says in 2024, China shipped approximately $178 billion worth of products to Africa. So it's almost closely the same, if I'm not really
Okay,
wrong. This
all
other
right,
end, we have 170
try. Okay,
billion. Billion, yeah, billion, yeah. So it's almost
but
almost
so,
close.
so you
Almost.
still behind 8 billion. So that's still not good. I mean, you have a trade deficit. So
Mm-hmm.
unless you start protecting your own systems, your own economy, your
Mm-hmm.
trade balance is going to get even higher.
Mm-hmm.
That's what China's trying to do. China's a predatory country, just like the Europeans. They're parasites.
Exactly, because they're adding that the zero tariffs move, when implemented, will be extension of the deal made last year for China to drop tariffs on goods from 33 African nations classified as least developed. And the expanded list will include some China largest trading partners on the continent, including South Africa. We have Nigeria. Of course, there we're talking about resources. If you're looking at this country, look at it. I'm looking at the resources personally because they're benefiting heavily on resources. China
Yeah, because
understands that the
China
most
has
of their
China has no resources.
exactly, most of their companies are set on these illegal mining sites. They have all the equipment and all that, so it's always China. And China has not said when the decision will come into effect. They're also adding Eswatini is only Africa state excluded from the zero tariff announcement, as it recognizes Taiwan as an independent country. China currently imports a lot of raw materials from Africa, notably from the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Of
This
course,
is
that's
all
that's
resources.
a they built all the rough. That's how they built all their manufacturing, their cars, their
Mm-hmm,
trains, all the shit you see in China came out of Africa.
mm-hmm. It's crazy. So if really we had really tough leaders, we should be reciprocating everything these other European, white, Asian leaders are doing. I don't know, all of them. We should, when you're banned, let's ensure all the white people are also getting out of your country. When these tariffs are being imposed, also ensure you put in heavy tariffs on anything that is coming from your
Well,
country.
with
Ahead,
Africa, you got to have tariffs because you have not developed your systems yet.
mm-hmm.
That's why white people come with their fake. Oh, we're gonna have free trade and blah blah. That's all
Problem.
fake. That's for
That's
them to destroy your. That's for them to destroy your damn market. You haven't developed the market, so when you go in the store, all the shit in there in the grocery stores are European shit. All your
exactly.
stuff because you have not developed none of these markets for yourself yet. So you're
Mm.
making them rich and making you poor. The
And that's the big.
tampons, the deodorant, everything is from someplace else because you have not developed those markets yourself. So you must have protection so you can develop your own market first.
Exactly. But since China's been here for the last 15 years, and now with this, like, for how long do you think China will overstay in Africa? Because this is now an
They'll
overstay.
stay
15
forever.
years
It's going to be,
overstay.
listen, the Chinese and Africans are going to go to war too. That's this that the Europe is going to fall because their numbers are messed up. They're not going to. Europe is out of here.
Yeah.
20 years, Europe is gone. So the idea of white supremacy, that's going to be the fight is going to be against China and Africa. So because the Chinese are racist as hell too. They're
Mm.
racist as shit and they're predatory. So as the African is waking up, Africa's not going to allow Africa to be taken again by another people who are disrespectful and hate African people. So that's going to be the clash. Africa will win that war too because the Chinese are dying out too. I told you,
Yep.
there is no scenario where Africa and African people do not rule the world in the next 25 years. There is no scenario unless they're able to put another BACCINEs in the African people or drop a bomb on them or something. There's no scenario in the next 25 years that the African doesn't rule this world. None.
Yep.
Because when the African understands power, brings back his resources, there's no place on the planet as rich as that. Africa's the only place that doesn't need anybody. Africa don't need nothing from nobody. Nothing. Everything's in the continent. That's why they want to keep you separate, especially if you unite. Even if you unite, you're dominant. There's nothing about who can offer you anything. You got the best farmland. Who can offer you food? Nobody. Who can offer you material to make anything? Nobody. It's all made in Africa. It's all there in Africa. Who can give you anything that you need? Nobody. You don't need nothing from China. You don't need nothing from Japan, America, South America. You need nothing from nobody.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy, but the population is declining, because I was reading a certain article here which was saying Japan now has over 9 million empty homes due to its declining
Decline in
population.
population. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You go to Japan and get a house for $50. They're nearest.
yeah,
That's
so
real.
Uh-huh. That's crazy. But of course, shout out to Africans. This is us slowing down, but we have really leaders who are set up here not to also ensure we don't really develop in any sort of way. They're
Of
just
course,
doing
and
their
it,
part, you know,
and
just
you
doing
actually
their
had
part.
leaders. You actually
Yes.
had leaders. You actually have these. I don't call them. You actually have these called these puppets in power to actually depop to help
Mm-hmm.
depop
Exactly.
Africa.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the ways of also to deep pop we know is through the mindset. I don't know if that sounds right, but I think it sounds
That's true.
right. One of the way to depop is also through the mindset. We're looking at Christianity persecutions rising in Nigeria, and this reminds me of the history of the Boko Haram. And when I was sharing the video of that lady when she was talking about how, if you look at the history of Boko Haram, they are claiming that they were killing the Christians and the Muslims, but they ended up killing actually more Muslims than the Christians, which didn't make sense.
They
Um,
were killing more Muslims because it's a fake terrorist state, a
mhm,
fake terrorist group created by the West. So they
mhm,
always got to use the spooky Islam because Boko Haram is only in the northern part of Nigeria. And if you know Nigerian demography, you know that the northern part is Islamic. The southern part of Nigeria is Christian. There's not a
mhm,
bunch of Christians in the northern part of Nigeria.
mhm.
That's the Islamic area. But
So,
in the south is where you find the Christians.
so of course, the war, we should say Boko Haram is back in the country, has always been there because I think recently, remember, it was you or we did share a video, some weapons entering Nigeria, remember?
Yeah, to the
At
helicopter.
Yeah, some weapons were spotted, coming to Nigeria, and they're saying I also saw another video where actually most of the people were running away, gunshots could be heard, people actually fleeing to save themselves. They're saying a source of violent attacks on Christian communities is sweeping across Nigeria, especially in the middle belt and northern regions, where armed groups are invading villages, killing civilians, burning churches, and displacing
Yeah.
thousands
Now
of
what?
people.
Now what kind of government would allow this? A fake government, because you can wipe them out easily. Remember,
Exactly.
we found out through Boko Haram, like one of the white guys snitched. He said, "Hey, we were about to wipe them out. It was mercenaries brought in by the government, and they said, no, 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 we don't want them wiped out because the Europeans didn't want them wiped because that's caused destabilization in Africa where they can steal out of Nigeria. Nigeria is 100 times richer than Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Qatar. Then why are they poor? Because 90% of that wealth gets taken out to Europe. And the 10% is given back to what Joey calls the retarded morons who run Nigeria. See, these are the
Exactly.
scams. Because they can Ben wipe out these fake Boko Haram. Ben
Mhm.
wiped it out.
They're
Where
earning
you getting the
100.
money from and where you hiding that every day? All you gotta do is put a
Exactly.
satellite find out where you at and wipe you out. That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. 150 Christians were killed in a wave of coordinated attacks. And this is the propaganda they ran with. Of course, the mainstream media is going to always say this. According to the Open Doors 2025 World Watch list, 69% of the Christians have been killed for their faith worldwide, and they were in Nigeria. Well, I think this is not about their faith. This is not about
And then
Christianity or
and then
religion.
do with faith, yo,
It's not
because
about
that
religion.
because those terrorists are backed by the Europeans who are Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So those fake Islamic groups are backed by the Europeans who are Christians and not Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So that like you said, that's all smoke and mirrors, so they can steal the resources of Nigeria. That's what's going on.
Course. Of course, they're saying that they're asking who is doing it here. The perpetrators include the Fulani militant herdsmen, whose armed herdsmen groups involved in deadly attacks on Christian farming villages, often over land disputes, which also have been seen videos like this happening in Nigeria, where there's land disputes a lot, and a lot of people are killing each other because of land, which we've seen also in most
Why
of
is
the
it?
parts of
Why is it?
Africa.
Why hasn't the government done anything? And then I
Exactly.
ask the question: where are all these people getting? Where's these? There are no manufacturing of weapons in Africa. So where are they getting all these weapons? Where are they coming from?
What really
Africa don't make no weapons except for Burkina Faso now that does. Africa don't make no weapons. And,
what really
who's got the money? Go ahead, Joe.
what really saddens my heart today is to see that Africans are fighting for lands that we really had in plenty. You know how crazy this sounds. And this is not even a long time ago, because again, we're talking about 60, 50 years just ago. We
Yeah.
have people who are still alive when
Of
this was
course.
happening.
Of course.
And now Africans are killing each other for lands that we were actually inheriting peacefully. We could
Of course.
divide in
They can't.
plenty. We had acres, endless
They're,
acres
they're not
of
fighting for no
land.
land, Joe, but they're fighting because the Europeans have put money in them, send them out there, especially the ignorant, keep making, because the northern part of Nigeria, everybody knows is the ignorant part. No one will lie to you about that. The northern
I
part of
get that.
Nigeria is full of morons, huh?
I get that, Kit, but it's also the process. You remember the way you were trying to process things on Friday when we were winding up the show, how African Americans, have been so dumbed down and all that. What we're trying to conclude is the same thing. I'm trying to
Of
how did we
course.
get here? It's crazy, being honest. When you try to process everything we talk about, it might look light, but if you think about it, it's not really that light. This is something really heavy. These are historical, effective events of today's course of life. Today, most of the African Americans, this is something that actually, this is what Iwaton and the Kamlesh were talking about. Why won't most of the people come and gain back land back right here in Africa? Why is it so hard for you as an African to get a land, even in another country, in an African country, even if you don't belong there? It is crazy to see that today Africans kill each other for land. It surprises me, being honest, because this is not, if I look at myself when I was really, really young, this is not what I grew up to. I was even questioning some friends during the weekend where we
Okay.
were, and I was asking them, like, you guys, don't you think we're really privileged, as a country? I mean, we're not really that privileged. It's just that we've had really corrupt leaders who are doing everything that is supposed
You
to be
say, you
done.
say, you
Right?
say, you say Kenyans ran better than most African countries. It is your privilege.
Exactly. Privilege in a way, number one. We don't wake up like Sudan, because when we try to discuss
Exactly.
about war, other people, and what I got from the mentality of the people are looking at like now Iran, Israel, Palestine, and nah. Don't you understand? We have war daily in other African countries. Have you
Countries,
seen
exactly.
Sudan? Have you seen Congo?
Congo.
Do you know what a privilege it is to wake up every day, hearing gunshots and bombs every corner, where you have to run for your life? You can't go to
Yeah.
work, you can't go to school, you
Yo,
can't go to the
yo,
hospital.
but they're not as conscious as you, and they don't have that much information like you do.
They do. They do. That's why I was talking to them like that. They
Okay.
do. They
All right.
do.
All right.
I
Okay.
didn't bring it up because they didn't understand a bit of what I was talking about. I was just trying to
Okay.
make them
Okay.
understand how privileged we really are to be waking up in a peaceful country. But we're not that
That's true.
privileged because we work with puppet leaders. I also made that clear. Work with puppet leaders who, if they don't do anything slight because they're already puppets, we're done. It's over for us. We're gonna be seeing missiles as well right here in Rongai. We really work with really puppet leaders who have agreed to do things that if they say no to right now, they have no choice. It is us, not them. It
That's,
is us that is the
but that's
target
true.
for them to be taught a lesson. Your people
That's
are the
true.
target.
That's true. See? But as I actually see, how many people understand what you just said, Joey, in Africa? Be honest. How many people understand what you just said?
And not so
Not
many,
many.
not so many, which is just so crazy, because everything that is affecting us is because we don't understand these things. We don't understand
Yeah.
none of these things. That's why I'm even talking about, when you talk about even economy, most of the people are, trust me, if we were to do, that's why we need to go back, I think, bring back the streets, shows. If you
That's
question
what.
most of the
That's
people,
what I said. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to bring the street shows with cameras and airtime. Go out on the streets Tuesdays and Thursdays. Go out on the streets and ask these questions. Exactly.
you just have
That's
to make them fun, because you don't, you have to go approach people with fun faces,
of course.
have to be sound like a serious thing, and then
Yeah.
and then what on is laughing. I'm just saying, you have to go approach people with a joyful, make it
Exactly.
interesting, make
Have
people
some
come
fun.
and learn
You
and
have some
understand.
fun, and then you have some fun. Then you hit them with the question. You say, how you guys think about such and such? Yeah, exactly.
Because man, people are really, really nuts out here. People don't understand a lot than
That's
how
on
can I
purpose.
get moonshine and some, meat on my table. When life is good, I don't need to think about Ruto. Ruto can solve himself. But they also had in Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province the extremist group behind the church bombing, village raids, and the kidnappings, of course, which we know is very well funded by the US through the
you
USA.
can you can change the name. Boko Haram is the same thing as Al Shabaab. It's the same shit. Same thing.
It is the same thing, but that is what is happening in Nigeria. It's true. You'll never lack Nigeria on the debate. That's why I'll never lack talking about Nigeria. They're always trending every day. They're always on chaotic things
And
happening.
the reason why they're chaotic because Nigeria has the biggest African population and it's the most dangerous of all African countries because if it unites and gets its shit together, Nigeria's a superpower. And everybody knows that. That's why they're trying to stop that.
Shout out to Jibajaba. He says there, it's like he says, Joby, they want to hear about terms and I'm a piano, not politics. That's right. Like, trust me, bring up conversations about soccer. Oh my God, you are the breadwinner of that day. You sound like a god because you understand soccer. If you actually took Kamlesh somewhere where people don't understand a lot about soccer and is narrating everything, people are gonna be like, so many there listening. It's crazy how people are just taken by the wave of things that don't make sense.
They don't matter. That's right.
Like I was listening to a video of Joshua Maponga the other time, and he was talking about you'll find a grown man, whining, yelling, talking about soccer. He's not understanding about the economics, about history, but he's yelling and willing to kill because of soccer. They're like, yeah, that is true, Joshua Maponga. Like, this is so real. People will kill themselves for soccer. This happens.
But that's on purpose, Joe. But that's on purpose. That's what the system does. It's called bread and circuses.
There was a time I think when I was in high school, we had some reports from the mainstream media where a man did bet his whole apartment, and because he didn't expect his team to lose, he lost the apartment. And he killed himself because he lost the apartment. Because how dumb are you to be betting your whole apartment? Like, and it's not really that serious. How can someone own your apartment when you're the owner of the title deed and everything?
That's the system, Joby. It's called bread and circuses. It's called distraction.
It is crazy. But as we get into the main conversation of understanding why Africa remains the greatest with its untappable ancient civilization, it's a lot when you talk about history when it comes to Africa. Personally, if there's something that really excites me every day, learning something new about us. It's really, really exciting. You're like, wow, we did this. That's amazing. It's really, really amazing. It's like right now where we have a certain video going viral right now on TikTok and most of the platforms on Instagram. And people are just going crazy about it because they're like, how was this our history? And we're not really taught about it, Africans are just going crazy. How is this part of our history? And yet we've been taught to be inferior, We were taught
you've been taught to be inferior because you come
and right.
Because you come from the most superior people. Now you a superior people with loving and kindness. You try to knock nobody in the head and steal their shit.
It's crazy. But during this weekend, I bumped into something super interesting. When you talk about reading and writing, we know we are actually the conquerors of this other race. Yeah, we are the conquerors.
You're the creation of it.
Exactly. It's like I was reading this particular other article before I get into that to understand where this is really coming from. We had the Moors, who of course did, conquer Spain and ruled it for 700 years, and they were responsible for bringing Europe out of the darkness.
Yeah. Okay, it's okay, chat. Hey, you gotta wash your ass. This is how you read 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. How to read and write, Joby.
And which is
make sure you keep the doodle up when you doodle you gotta clean your butt.
And which is a historical fact and remains a historical fact because white people don't like hearing. Not all of them, to be specific. We have white people are telling us.
I don't care if they don't like it or not. It's a fact.
We have white people telling us the truth of what they have learned. Shout out to them. I've been seeing such kind of comments and videos. Those who are really appreciative of understanding where they came from and why there's this, I don't want to call it hatred, but heat between black people and white people. I love the fact that there's some white people are trying to understand that, because like the comment I was reading on Friday, on Thursday, this white guy was saying, I cannot understand the pain black people go through every day or they have gone through because their history is it's just way unthinkable that you've really gone through this and you've still survived and you still survive every single day, because racism is there when you talk about black people. Not, it may not be here in Africa, but racism is there, hatred is there. White people are just showing you their true colors in every corner, no matter where you are as a black person. It might not be really really you, but the other black people who are facing it. And the sad part with us black people, we always like defending racism. What I've actually learned, black people like defending racism just because it has not affected them. That is something I've really learned. And until you really bump into the true face, or even see, if you have humanity, you see someone else being treated some sort of way by this other race, it should affect you. The same thing that happened, the way it triggered me in Tanzania, I'm like, nah, you're not gonna do this. So black people have noticed and seen, not all of them, some who do not know the truth, they'd rather defend a white person than a black person who's actually the victim, which is very,
Yeah,
very wrong.
well, yeah,
Very.
because that's mind control.
Mm-hmm.
They,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's mind control because they've
Yeah.
been indoctrinated, they've been colonized mind.
Okay, so they're talking about African Moors conquered Spain, ruled it for 700 years, and were responsible to bring Europe out of the Dark Ages and into Renaissance. While Christian Europe had 99% illiteracy rate and with only two universities.
99%, Joe, means everybody was stupid and dumb.
Yeah.
99% of them couldn't read or write, Joe.
Exactly. And rates, that is 99% illiteracy rate, and with only two universities, and the most had seven. They introduced education to
And they
Europe.
didn't, and they didn't have any. First universities were built by the African for
Mhm.
white people. They're stupid. Let's give them education. Let's build them universities. They didn't have no universities.
Period.
College, Joby, and university created by Africans,
But
not by
no,
anybody else. Created by us
they are,
because
they are,
we
they are.
studied the universe. They were
Mhm.
all in a group of religion. We studied universe means university. It was the study of how things, how everything interacts with with the universe. Good.
Mhm. Their system of education lies to us how they came as civilizers. So this is where we learned to read and write. This is why we have some Africans who are mad because of this. Now, on this other end, on my screen, what you can see on my screen, we have the Ishango bone. I don't know if you guys have heard about the
Yeah,
Ishango.
The Shango bone. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was showed it showed mathematics. Shango bone's like 20,000 years ago.
Exactly. They are saying the Ishango bone is a 20,000-year-old bone
Oh, okay, I just
artifact.
guessed. I knew it was like 20, 30. I just said 20, I like 20, 30, but okay, 20,000 exactly.
Yeah, it's a 20,000-year-old
So
bone
remember,
artifact.
20,000 years ago, there were no white people, there were
Yeah.
no Indians, there were no Asians.
It was discovered in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's a 10-centimeter long carved bone with 168 notches grouped in three columns, suggesting not it might, but it did. According to Google, is that it might, but it did have. It did and was used for mathematical purposes,
It was
possibly to.
mathematical, Joe, but they always like saying it was mathematical. And actually, you got things even older than that of
Mhm.
Africans. And
This was
Africans were
possible.
counting 50, 100, 200,000 years ago.
Yeah, it was mathematical and for purposes like to record lunar cycles or track time. So let me share a quick video on that, and then we check on another one, because I was also trying to check on Google if they could give me other different artifacts that we don't have an idea of, but of course Google won't give me any of that. I just found a few which I'll share,
Well, it's not
and
because they came to civilize you. It was already
then.
civilized.
It's crazy. Make it make sense. Let me share this quickly as we continue.
The Ashango bone was found in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the Ashango region.
And actually, I was seeing a map. I don't know if that was the original map. Another map of another lady was explaining the same thing. Uganda was not called Uganda, but it was called Uganda. That was, I think, the original name of Uganda. Because I saw on that map trying to explain Uganda was called Uganda before the white people came. It was Uganda. Yeah.
Near the borders of Uganda and Zaire. It was buried in layers of volcanic ashes on the shores of Lake Edward. About 25,000 years ago, a small community existed near this lake. They fished, grew crops, and gathered. But they existed for only a few hundred years.
We don't know how long they lasted, but let's say so. So you tell me, 20,000 years ago, see, this is all you Christian and Islam morons. Okay, this is 20,000 years before. Let's say your Islam's only 1,000 years old, and your Christian insanity not even 2,000 years. So 18,000 years ago, Africans were doing their thing. They didn't know nothing about they didn't know about your fake Jesus because he didn't exist yet. They didn't know about your fake Allah. He didn't exist yet. Did these Africans go to your hell? Now they didn't know you people. Your religions didn't exist.
Exactly.
So your religions didn't exist. That's why I tell you your religions are phony. Your religions did not exist. So these Africans, never heard of your fake religions, that would come. So that's 20,000 years ago. Christianity would come 18,500 years later. Islam would come 18,800 years later. So over almost 19,000 years ago, Africans were, like I said, fishing, living, loving, laughing. Did they go to your make-believe hell? I'm asking you for a friend. No, because they like that time they would understand how the universe worked. That there was no such thing as death. They were actually learning how the world and the universe really works. It's funny how science has proven all these Africans right. Go ahead, Joby. That's why they don't want to teach you your history, because it destroys their fake religion. Go ahead.
Hiding it and all evidence of it for thousands of years.
Like that.
Now, the Ashango bone is it's dated to about 22,000 years old.
About 22,000.
22, yeah.
This mathematical tool known to mankind.
Others say 22, others say 25, so it could be probably to 30.
It probably older than that. So so these Africans, so even if it's 22, that's 20,000 years older than your Christianity. That's 500 years older than your damn Islam. So you mean these people, they didn't know your Allah, they didn't know your Muhammad, they didn't know your Jesus, they didn't know your Jehovah. Did they go to hell? I'm asking.
And it is from the Upper Paleolithic era. The bone is 10 centimeters long. It is dark brown and curved, with a sharp piece of quartz attached to the end. It was found in 1950 by a Belgian man who was on an expedition in the Congo. It dates to about 18,000 to 20,000 BC, so it's pretty old. Now, there are etchings on the bone, 168 to be exact, and they are in 3 parallel columns along the length of the bone. The first column is the M column, M for middle. The left column is referred to as G, and the right column is referred to as D. Now, the discoverer of the bone, Jean de Hernzelin, believed the bone was evidence of the knowledge of simple mathematics. This interpretation is based on evidence which compared Ashango harpoon heads to those found in
remember, Thoth told you 50,000 years ago the Egyptians were already civilized. That's 50,000 years ago. But Thoth told you Egyptians were civilized, building houses with running water, toilets, 50,000 years ago. So that'd be 30,000 years older than this. Go ahead, Joe.
Yep.
Sudan and ancient Kemet. This led to the idea of a link between mathematic processes conducted at Ishango with the beginnings of mathematics in Kemet. Now, there have been multiple interpretations of the bone, but no conclusive idea of how exactly it was used. Now, it's not really widely known that two bones were actually discovered. The second bone is about 10 to 14 centimeters long, but not much study has been done on that second bone like the first.
And here she called it Kemet, not Egypt, because it was known as Kemet. Wasn't called Egypt till white people got it. Them fake people you see up there, those are not Egyptians or Comedians. Those are invaders.
Is that the left column holds prime numbers and totals to 60. The right column holds numbers that are linked to the number 10, and those numbers also total 60. And the middle column holds a number and it's double, and it totals 48 in the column. While the Ishango bone may not be the oldest mathematical bone in the world, it is possibly the oldest prime number table in the world.
And then it kind of reminds me, because that's why we tend to understand how these people they just came here recently, literally. Because when I was looking at this, it reminded me, I don't know if you guys were using the same mathematical, rules to count. You could, when you drawing on the blackboard, maybe when you call on the front to go count, minus, subtract, divide, and all. We used to do strokes. For me, I remember I grew up doing strokes to understand easily counting and all that, division, subtraction, addition. For me, I grew up doing that. So this actually does make a lot of sense to me, why we had this mathematical rule when we were young.
Today I feel like modern man, pounds on their chest and claims to be the creators of so many things. They brag about the accomplishments of today, modern technology, when really all modern man has done is stood on the shoulders of geniuses and giants of thousands of years ago and has taken what they've done, in some cases expanded on it to better mankind, and in some cases just straight up took credit for what they never created, or
took credit for black shit.
Never even had the mental capacity to envision. And I give credit to our ancient ancestors.
Exactly. For me, even for me to make a little bit of sense, if you stole this history, wherever you went, kept it, at least you're educating people of the original, its originality. Let me just call it that. Okay, its originality. Where did it come from? Understand bits of what it was used for. Maybe you might not have that information, but at least give people facts of where these artifacts come from. It's like the one I was reading on Friday, where we saw after 150 years later, we have scalps being returned, scalps that were used for racism, science. Scars that were used for racism, science. It's just crazy. Why people at least even give credit, but they won't do that. They won't do that. It's crazy.
Because
dominate, literally dominate. Take and stand with it.
But for them, racism is the key thing of everything, Joe. All their science, everything for them is based on racism. All of them is based on they got to feel superior. We're the best. It's not superior, and they're not. They're less biologically. Everything for them is less. So there's some kind of like psychopathic inferiority that they project. So they must tell everybody superior. We're superior. We're superior.
Exactly. They're inferior, so that's why they need to put the superiority in a complex to feel superior, as much as they really know they are not, and it's in their blood. They are not.
They know it's not.
But we also have this other ancient, of course, writing and reading artifacts that has also been discovered. And this is the thing.
And ain't funny, all your artifacts are in Europe.
So we have this lady, of course, who came up with it and made a discovery of it. And she's talking about a wooden hunter's toolbox. It's called a wooden hunter toolbox. And if you look at it, it's very unique. It's a very unique, mystical box. Looks very Exactly. Very nice, very classy for jewelries. That's all I'll say. But they're saying a
Yeah.
wooden hunter's toolbox inscribed with an ancient Zambian writing system has sparked interest across social media. And the artifact is part of a campaign to revive lost heritage and highlights women's role in pre-colonial Africa. And this woman also says we've grown up being told that Africans didn't know how to read and write, but we had our own ways.
Can you imagine? You taught the world how to read and write, then these wicked Europeans come back and tell you you didn't know how, you didn't never read and write. Can you
Yeah.
imagine how crazy this is? And in your mind, you're taking this nonsense and that they give you inferiority complex. You taught the world to read and write. Nobody showed the Moors going to Europe, pull them out the Dark Ages, because none of them read and write. 99% were morons.
Mhm. So she says we've grown up being told that Africans didn't know how to read and write, but we had our own ways of writing and transmitting knowledge that has been completely sidelined and overlooked. She also says they're saying that the project is using social media to challenge the persistent myth that African societies lacked their own knowledge system. And you can see here literally patterns. Even when you talk about the patterns that have been stolen away from us, you see these patterns, what we see in Gucci, Louis Vuitton today,
Exactly.
Chanel, most of these patterns have been stolen from Africa. And they're saying most
Of
of the
course.
featured objects were collected during the colonial era and stored in museums around the
I
world,
told you.
including.
See, exactly. In the museum, and then Africans fight. Oh, I got me a Gucci. I got me a Louis. I got me a Versace. Hey, moron. That's all your patterns that they stole from you. I don't know nothing about that. Go
Mhm.
ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
A total of 50 objects have been shared on social media, each accompanied by details about its significance, highlighting how women were often central to a society belief system
Of
and
course.
understanding of the natural world. And in the 19th to the early 20th century, Swedish explorers and ethnograpers and botanists would pay to travel on British ships to Cape Town and then journey inland by rail on a float. Over the course of century, they collected nearly 650 Zambian cultural objects, now housed in the museum, alongside around 300 historical photographs. So this is super super crazy, and of course, our trying to look at the cultural this cultural stolen cultures. I couldn't find it, the cultural objects. I was trying to see if they could lead me to the right page that has posted these ancient objects, and I couldn't find it. But looking on Google, I did find this one, which some of the objects that were used for writing, and I think most of you might be familiar with them. We had the share my screen. Share my screen very quickly. Then widen it. See what you can see. Up. Oops. 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 Okay. There we have it. So we have I could just find this image that was trying to make sense to me. We had the Egyptian reed pen. It's not red but reed pen. Those sticks you see here, they were using this to write. We also had the quill. The quill, the quill that was of
Well,
course
well, brother.
used for writing. We had the cane pen. I don't know where this originally where it originates from, whether from sugarcane or what. I need to do more research on that and understand where it really comes from. We had the writing brush, which of course is very common, but not today. Not today in today's writing. We had the lead pen, which looks like it's a.
That's our old stuff there.
Yeah, this is some of them are not old, right? Like the lead pen.
Okay, yeah.
The Roman mental pen, that is not old. We had the steel pen and the staters. I think that the ancient one here could be the cane pen, the quill pen, and the Egyptian reed pen. Yeah, so those look like the ancient writing materials or writing objects that they used to use a lot. I was trying to look at more. I couldn't
The
find it.
idea that Africans didn't write. The first thing of paper, Joe, was called papyrus,
Mm-hmm,
created by the African to
mm-hmm,
write on. Nowhere in the world.
mm-hmm.
That's created by the African. You
Yeah.
know, it's called papyrus. Papyrus becomes paper later on. It's called papyrus.
Yeah, so we'll do much more deeper research on that. But that has been the information for today. But before we wind up, also to understand how many books, because this is history that our people did record. We know that our history was very well recorded. They
It's because they tried to they burned up the libraries, Joby. The Europeans came and burned up libraries in Kemet, and then
Mhm.
also in Timbuktu. There was more books in Timbuktu
In
just
Mali.
in one library alone than all of Europe compared.
Exactly. So actually, apparently, they're saying in Mali's Timbuktu University, there's only 700,000 ancient African books and manuscripts that have survived. And of course,
Survive. Because when they
yes,
came in to conquer, they burnt it all up. And they try to lie about your history because you are the founders of writing and books and giving a
yes,
fake history. That's what these people have done.
it is crazy. But as we go through the comments, so this has been the conversation, or that has been the conversation from me today, learning a little bit about, of course, our civilization, because that is part of our great civilization, which is very much untapped. I call it untapped because white people, again, as much as they might have stolen all this, they have it in their museums. They can't come up with the ideas of finding the right bones, like you can see, finding the right objects to come up with the writings. They can't, because we also, if you look at the history of our people, they moved not
Spiritual.
just by doing, exactly, not just by doing, but spiritually. They were
And
tapping
spiritual.
things
Hmm.
spiritually. They had a spiritual
Yeah.
purpose and spiritual
Spiritual.
into it. So as we come to
Yep.
the end of today's conversation, I see Jabba says the best time to buy bubble gum is when things are quiet. And I also see John Mosquito says,
All
yes, I
right.
was doing my yearly summer fasting. I had to take some time off. That is amazing. Nice to see that you have, you're keeping up with your timetable. And I also see, says a lot is happening around the world. Yes, a lot is happening, John Mosquito. Hope you've been keeping up or catching up when you can. But I also see Jiba says, yep, they did to Kim Jong. He went brother rubbed his face with a handkerchief, and seconds later is gone. And then he also adds, better watch, everything in Kenya will be made in China like in the US. You know why actually I when I was in high school, when I used to see cars and admire cars and say China are doing amazing. For me, I had a tendency, and I think it's something I still have. Even when I buy a cloth, I love checking the tag. Where is it coming from? Like, where is it made from? I love doing that. So one thing that made me think about China having or being the best car producers, because everything I could see was made in China, made in China. So I'm like, when will I ever see made in Kenya? That used to disturb my head a lot as a teenager. I'm like, I never see anything made in Kenya. And if you see anything made in
Because
Kenya, it's
because you didn't have any manufacturing there, Joe. But that's all it is. That's the better.
if you
You
see
go to the
anything
manufacturing.
made in Kenya is some plastic cups that are very bad, very cancerous.
That's all.
Some
That,
plastic, like,
because they don't want. Yeah, because all the material comes out of Africa, but there's no factories to manufacture it.
exactly. So it took me time. I'm not actually. It's already we have so much that is made in China. So Juba Jabba, you're way behind. Actually, we're already way
There,
there. We've been
there
there.
we go.
We've been.
That's everywhere, Jibber Jabber. China's now the manufacturing hub of the planet. That was done
Mhm.
on purpose. They gave them that. So of course, manufacturing is going to be put everywhere. It's going to be just America. It's going to be all over the world. No matter where you go, most things are manufactured. They make China the manufacturing hub of the planet.
Mhm.
To make sure
Juba,
they keep in that now. Now that's what even Torre is trying to stop. Now, but said we're going to manufacture everything in Bikini Faso. We got the material here. Why are we sending it to China and then pay for it and
yep.
import? No, we're going to build it here. That's what you got to start doing. But you must have
Real
good,
power
cheap electricity.
and real power
Yeah.
when it comes to
Real power.
leadership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got to be. Yeah, you can't be bought out. Exactly.
Exactly. Jiba says cool the Shango Bond. That's the first handheld calculator. Exactly. Because for me, I also remember like we used to do strokes. You count like 1, 2, 3, then you put a stroke like this. 1, 2, then put a stroke like
Cross it
this.
out.
Yeah, so also see Jabba says these segments on our inventions are very enlightening. Very. I also see Baron Scott Karibu-san. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. He's talking about the University of Salamanca. If I'm pronouncing Salamanca. If I'm pronouncing it
Salamanca.
Salamanca. Jiba says, look how the AI describes it. Might have been used as us, even AI using Vogue, non-committed language. Of course, it's them controlling the system. So, Java Mosquito says why people find it hard to pronounce stuff, so they often change names to place of places so they can pronounce it, and them changing Ugandan name. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was, yeah,
Exactly. They always change the name.
makes sense why they called it Uganda, because they couldn't pronounce or Uganda, or Uganda, because that's, according to the video I saw, that seems like the original name of Uganda, because it looks like a map that was so untapped and touched before the names were all changed. Jibajaba also says he was common tool for students of the day. I've learned like a pocket calculators today. And I also see is adding that if they knew prime numbers, they knew the 369 factor. Exactly.
Well, they've been to that. Joby, real quick, Joby.
Yeah.
Real quick. Go to YouTube real quick and say white professor begs the Dogon to teach them their writing, their mathematics system. See, mathematics starts from us, guys. We know Dogons came from Kemet. I don't like to say Dogon. The Dogons who live in Mali came from Kemet. They migrated when Kemet was being invaded. Say the white professor who begs the Dogon to teach him mathematics. Should be something that pop up. So, because Dogon's mathematics goes back, this is 25,000 year cycle time, goes back ancient. That's how you get the computer. Because, like Joby said, everything for us is spiritual. So, what it did, numbers break down the very essence of how the universe actually works through computer code. It's how the African understood that this is an illusion. That this world we live in is not even real. It's just a dream. It's an illusion through their mathematics. That's how superior, how advanced the African is. And so they were telling the white man, "No, we can't teach you none of this science. Now go away. You can't learn this. You're not able. You're not like you're not spiritual enough." And so he basically said, "It's a group of black people. Your ancestors are in Africa. I mean, now America will take away from Africa who don't know this math." And so they allowed him to do it to bring it back to America.
I don't see it, Kate. I don't know if you can see anything relative, but I've also checked on TikTok.
You got something right there. Something popped up. Say scientists.
This is one thing I see too.
Yeah. It has to be specific, right? Or
I know. Say scientists. Say American scientists ask the Dogon to teach them their math. Or ask professor to teach them their math. This is well known. So this is how you get the computer codes, binary code, all this shit is ancient. We'll look at it later on tonight. We'll look for it tonight, Jeff.
Okay, all right. But anyway, have yourselves a beautiful day. That's why we're wrapping it up on today's conversation. Shout out to everyone who has been able to catch up with me this morning, afternoon, evening. It is exactly 36 minutes past 3 p.m. Iwaton's time, and I hope you guys come back and catch up with us and see what's happening and what's popping. But shout out to everyone who has been with me on Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, on the radio, and of course for those who shall be catching this on Spreaker, Spotify.
Oh, Spreaker, hey, yeah, I know Joe been putting on Spreaker because our numbers then grown up again, have gone up on Spreaker.
That's what's up. But yes, much love. Have yourselves a beautiful day. See you guys, of course, later in an hour or so on the Rhythm Scoop Show and later on the Africa Today Show. But thank you so much for being with us. Closing remarks, Keith.
Closing remarks is say bye night on the Africa Today Show.
Okay.